Do you want to work a job in Japan that's 80% sitting at your desk wasting time away? Ever wanted to become a VTuber and grow an audience? Well, look no further than the JET program. JET, or Japanese Exchange and Teaching Program, is basically a global scouting initiative from the Japanese government to get English-speaking foreigners to help out in elementary, middle, and high schools across Japan. You can work as an ALT, or assistant language teacher, and create fun English lessons on the clock while enjoying all Japan has to offer off the clock. For the first 3 years of ALTing I did, I wasn't required to use a textbook, so some of my classes looked like watching Shrek over the span of 2 weeks, creating original class mangas, and practicing Gen Z internet slang based off of Petra's VODs. Did I mention you don't need any formal teacher training or education degree to apply? They hired a 22-year-old to teach 18-year-olds, and somehow that was okay. I'm joking, I was responsible and also had real lessons where they learned proper English. Now, I was a JET from 2022 to 2025 in the beautiful prefecture of... right... no, not there. Here! Yamaguchi! Home to rice fields, small mountains, and that one particular legend about Genpei warriors dying at Dannoura and turning into these crabs. The thing about the JET program is that you get to choose 2 or 3 prefectures you'd want to get placed in, and the staff do their absolute best to ignore all 3 choices and put you in a rural community only accessible by train every 6 weeks. I'm joking again, I put Yamaguchi as my first choice, and there was no competition for that placement, so I got it. I digress. Anyway, people with a keen eye may have caught on to the fact that I started VTubing in 2022 when I was already in Japan. How did I juggle living in a new country with a full-time job? Easy. I was given 11 hours of class time a week. That's 6 class periods in a day, and I was averaging 2 of them. If you can spend 1 day a week setting up lessons and making PowerPoints, then you can basically get every hour in between those class times to fuck off. In the JET community, we call it desk warming. And the thing about being an ALT is that everyone in the school, all the staff and other teachers, see you as not a real teacher, a guest, so they don't usually care that you're not working or pretending to look busy. This is probably the worst way I could present a real and productive collaboration between Japan and America, or I guess any English-speaking country, but the reality is, you have a lot of time on your hands outside of the classes you're assigned to, even if you end up having more classes than I did. So, what did I choose to do with the plenty of time to learn a new skill, take online classes, study Japanese, or I don't know, improve my future? I became a commentary VTuber. I created graphics on my work tablet. I basically drafted and wrote all of my video scripts. I was tweeting like 30 times a day. There was a point where I manually transcribed all the closed captions for my videos and timed them while on the clock. I was acting jobless while getting paid a full-time wage for 3 years. So, if you're an aspiring VTuber in college, or hell, just want a break from your current career, I recommend uprooting your entire life to go live in Japan and start making convenience store onigiri tier lists. Now, I'm not the only VTuber who started their career while on the JET program, and I certainly won't be the last. There have even been whispers about corpo VTubers actually following the same pipeline I did, and while it's technically not recommended to use JET as a way to live in Japan long term, it is the easiest way to get into ALTing, which you can do forever and ever and stay in Japan as long as you keep renewing your instructor visa. Doesn't it sound fun as hell? If I had no ambitions for my future, I could have easily stayed in ALT and continued building my VTuber brand 8 hours a day. But, with all good things, there are bad consequences. The JET program itself has a maximum of 5 years, period. If you stay for the full 5 without mastering new skills and preparing for a field outside of ALTing, finding a new job in Japan will be rough. And going home after 5 years with basically a huge gap in your work history and resume is just as bad. There are probably more horror stories on Reddit about JETs quitting and having nothing to return to than there are success stories, and that's not an exaggeration. It's the very reason I took my 3rd year to really reflect on what I was spending my time on and figured out the direction of my future. VTubing full-time and banking on popping off to gain income was not feasible, nor would it give me a visa to remain in Japan with. So I did what any rational 25-year-old would do and stopped pouring all my deskwarming time into making YouTube videos. Instead, I started writing K-pop yaoi fanfic. I studied like crazy and sat for the JLPT N2 test while also job searching and interviewing for other English teaching jobs. My degrees in university are kinda useless, so English was all I had going for me at the time. Good news, I'm thankfully no longer ALTing and I'm studying at a language school to hopefully bump me up to N1 so I can join fashion school and graduate by the time I'm 30. Wait, starting a career at 30? Yeah. That's the price you pay for spending your formative early 20s in English teaching in buttfuck countryside. Look, I didn't pop off as a VTuber in the 2 years I gave it. I didn't have experience in some low-paying rookie job in a field that scales over the years. Nor did I build marketable skills for any other job outside of teaching. To most, I did JET the wrong way. But that doesn't mean you will. And fuck, if I can make it out of ALTing, you can too. JET is a fantastic experience, not just in the fact you get to live your fantasy Japan life, but in figuring out what you really want to do in the future. My goal in life at the time of applying to JET was to just physically be in Japan. I had no set dream or future career in mind, and VTubing while ALTing on the side proved to me that I actually did want to do a creative job in the future, and that led me on the path I am now. Would it have been better if I went to language school as a 22-year-old and graduated from fashion school years earlier? Duh. But that didn't even cross my mind back then, and I wouldn't have even given VTubing a try. It's the fact that you're on a hard deadline that is more than enough to get you to put your best foot forward in any venture you want to try. That's why I recommend it. So, if you're willing to take on the challenge, do your research on the application process and get your documents ready, because they only accept applications at certain times and it's a very selective process. Cheers!